Peace, family.
Peace, family. Peace, family. We are back. I'm just being honest, connected with the Black experience. It is your guy, the most disliked, popular guy, Barry Axius, with the queen, the most popular, loved, bestowing.
Get out of here.
Oh, it's the truth.
Get out of here,
Queen Mama
please.
Roll. What's going on?
Peace, peace. How you doing?
You know.
I be trying to represent. I can't be on the show with somebody like you looking raggedy.
No, man, look at me. What are you talking about? My hair ain't
You're
done.
a black man. All you gotta do is put on a t-shirt. We good.
I'm happy. Sometimes it be like that. I mean, everything's good. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Got a lot of stuff done. What about you?
You know what?
Them oxtails.
Oxtails is going crazy right now. If y'all have not come down to the African Marketplace or the pop-ups, we're having another event. I want to say it's the Black Memorial Art, I want to say festival is happening October 12th. Queen Shona McDaniels is happening 2251 Florin. The Black memorial art, I want to say it's going to be a lot of art. It's memorabilia from our ancestors. Queen Shona is putting it together. I want to say it's the first or second annual, but it's happening again here at 2251 Florin, where we're doing a lot of pure unapologetic blackness in this whole facility. Black owned, of course. A majority of the businesses, whether it's service or retail, is black owned. You know, we have, of course, we have other folks in here as well, but you know, we're just trying to establish our place and establish our brand. And I also want to believe that Queen Nikki Dollar Stores, she's also doing something here as well. She has her year celebration. I want to say her 10-year celebration. I don't want to, you know, I apologize for me not knowing all of the, you know, exact information for the things, but I do know 2251 Florin Road is a place you need to be October 12th. We're going to have a bunch of activities happening. And of course, if you have not tasted my seriously delicious food, you need to come. The oxtails, the gumbo's back on the menu. Curry, jerk, everything. Plantains, I'm going to have those out. The Haitian macaroni. It's going down.
Haitian macaroni.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Okay.
You need to yeah. It's
I like that.
It's because it's not the regular macaroni. How it's prepared, how it's made. My aunties finally gave me the expertise of how to actually create it, because it was one of those things that, you know, when we used to celebrate those holidays, right?
Right on.
Now we just do it as gatherings for the family. It's one of those things you're like, well, how the hell did you do? You know, all the other stuff I could kind of figure out. You do with this, with that, but it was always amazing to me because I would try and I'm like, man, I would get it wrong. And at one particular time, I think I had it, but then I would so often try to do my own little mix and whatever. It didn't really work out the way I wanted it to work out. But finally, some years back, she gave me the whole ingredients, laid it down.
Get a boy the ingredients.
This is it. But this is the time where I actually sat and I said, "Oh, you okay? You do that? And then I got it. So it's like now it's part of my repertoire.
How important is your culture to you, Barry?
It's huge. I unfortunately was Americanized in a way of I have a lot of my cousins and some of my other cousins who live in New York and LA. You know, we got separated from our culture as well, as far as, you know, they have the Jamaican side because you know, one of my cousins, they're Jamaican as well as Haitian. My mom was Jamaican. Their dad was my uncle. My dad's brother, you know, is Haitian, right? So they were more on the Jamaican side, right? Wow. But we missed out on getting the language part. The food component is locked in. You know what I mean?
I know.
So that to me is very special. But I would have loved to be able to have the vocabulary, the language. You know what I mean? That dialogue, because I would have been able to not only stretch myself with my family and be in conversations that they don't think I need to be in, but I would have also been able to go around the atmosphere where there's a lot of Haitians, as well as, you know, Haitian has some Spanish in it, you know, the whole French piece. I would be able to talk to other people like Mexicans couldn't get nothing over on me. I'd be like, oh, hold up, you know what? And to be honest with you, us only having a certain kind of language, and we have English, and then we have like this I don't know what you want to call it. I remember the big thing was Ebonics back in the day, right? They try to throw that Ebonics on us. You don't even hear people talk about that no more. But I think that was our language. That rhetoric wasn't proper English, but it was kind of the language that you hear a lot of us verbalize, especially in the hoods.
Right. So Ebonics is just means ebony sound. So there are certain words that black people can say. You can almost tell what region of Africa their ancestors came from. Because some of us can't say that TH and the reason why we have certain sounds on certain words.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's all that meant. But people taking it back. These niggas trying to say, no, some of us do talk. I say ask. Yeah. I say all kind of little stuff that people like, that's not, so that's how I say it. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that to me, I am probably more upset that I couldn't pass that on to my daughter.
I get that.
You know what I mean? And
she knows she have Haitian ancestry?
Oh, she's all
okay, good.
Haitian all day.
At least she know that.
Yeah, she knows. I never deviated from her Haitian side, and she never was Americanized in a way of like just the American black girl. She was around her family, and at one particular time, she stayed with my aunties when she was younger, learning the language, learning the culture. But then, things happened between me and her mom, and, one thing led to another thing. And then I was caught into the serious street life. So it was like, there was no really time to kind of move in that gauntlet. But my family was very tight-knit at one particular time, especially when my daughter was younger. So to get it and to be involved in it was always purposeful for my family. But I think because of the culture shock, right? And this is something I think that a lot of immigrants deal with, and this is the reason why I feel a lot of the separation from African Americans and black Africans and black Americans is that you have the language barrier, you have the culture barrier, and you don't really understand each side. And when we talked about it before we even got online, the colorisms, right, and the classisms that we face. So a lot of the times, my father, though he didn't expose me and my brother to the language per se, but to the culture, right? A lot of our African American friends he could not stand.
I get that.
Right? And now as I see the upbringing of who I was and who they were, it's a little different between those two things. So I think that where we fall apart is we don't really relate to each side. Whereas African American kids, as I've shared with you before, and I've shared on our podcast, I used to get called African booty snatcher. I used to be called I wasn't black enough, right? Like I'm looking at my body,
Why
looking
you
at my
talk like that? That's like I get
right.
That.
Proper English to me, when it was proper, I had to figure out how to be more hood in my delivery because I wasn't considered black enough. So I think those things really. As I was younger, becoming older in my teenage years, I would kind of like, that weird culture, because all of my other friends that I gravitated to, the black ones, the white ones, they were American.
That's deep.
You know what I'm talking about? So I'm like, I want to fit in. So I don't want to come with this language because these motherfuckers are going to sit there and start laughing and clowning me. But when you're not in a household poured in with this is who you are, this is your power, you don't have that brightness and you don't have that pride walking out like, oh man, shoot, I know 5 different languages, dog. Can you say that?
Right.
You kind of like
put that away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on.
Because you don't want to be ostracized and you don't want to be shoveled into some kind of box. And that's just the things that when you get older you learn. I try to make sure that my daughter never feels that way on anything. So that's kind of like the perspective I think that happens with the separation, because unfortunately, if both cultures were able to connect, most of the problems that we deal with currently, we wouldn't be dealing with it.
That's real talk. When I meet young people in my work who are first generation, they feel like, first I get excited and I always say, do not give your culture up for this. Like, be proud of that. Don't be like, where you're from Kenya? What you speak? 3 languages? Hey, don't get that up. Like, immediately. And sometimes I do watch other black young people be like, like, that's different. No, dude, that's where we're supposed to be. Shit, you should feel some way about not being able to speak another language. I know I do. It's like, come on, we struggling on 1 language. They speak like 7. What the hell? This is crazy.
That's powerful, yo. And I don't think that we realize how much power that is.
That's real talk.
Because at the end of the day, when we think about it, black people are global people.
We really are.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's purposely done in the schools to not teach us how global we truly are.
Right on.
Like, this is black, and this is Negroes in America, and y'all, even though we are different, and I think the greatness of who people are as individuals are differences. That's why, even when we talk about racism, like, I'm okay with some racists because, you know, when you have your opinion, right, I'm not going to dwell off that. When I'm not okay with it is when your racism creates this power structure, or it defines where I can go and what I can do and how much I can move up this ladder. You get what I'm talking about? I don't mind that you don't like me, but at the same time, when you have the power and the advantage to be like, oh, I'm going to finna stop all of this shit, that's when it becomes an issue. You know, saying, oh, I don't like black people, okay, cool. But the problem becomes, yes, I don't like black people, and I'm going to make sure that that building you was trying to buy, you can't get it.
Right on. I get that. I get that. You're right on, Barry. I do think that's a conversation we need to have in terms of looking at the beautiful diversity. So I watched recently on Vice, they had a bunch of conservative and I guess liberals, black young millennials.
Black Republicans, is that what they?
You know, first I watched the black conservative one. Then I guess inside it they had some conservatives and some liberal black kids. I thought, oh man, I felt so conflicted, Barry, because I agree with some of the shit the conservative people said.
Yeah, you like Candace Owens.
Yeah, I respect some of her stuff. It's like I like 50% of what she has to say. I agree with because Minister Farrakhan said that same shit and we don't say nothing. But when she's talking about slavery, don't matter. Okay, now we gotta pump the brakes because I don't believe in that bullshit. You can go all the way. So I feel like it's like with black folks, we feel like there's this fake invisible we're in unity, but we don't want to talk about the shit. That's like saying I'm not into smoking weed, but if you are, nigga, that's great. Don't smoke that shit around me. We can't have no fucking respect to just do that shit. No, I'm just saying. So I feel like when I was watching, so then they have one that you could just see just that little meeting. Yeah. And I ain't gonna front, some of them motherfucking liberals was ignorant as fuck. Yes, like they wanted to support everybody, but not necessarily just black people. They thought all black people were Christian, all black people were Democrats, all black people were poor, all black people had to say, no, fool. So, you know, like, come on. And that's the diversity that we don't get to see, that all of us ain't going through the same shit.
Not at all. Not at all.
God
and I think that a lot of the times where we fall short is we become so one-track minded, right? And I think sometimes when we really think about it, the reality of what black people are fighting against or trying to liberate themselves from is really the same thing that we fight in our own subculture, right?
Right on.
You know what I'm talking about? Let's be real honest. We're saying that we don't want white people to look at us like this. We want white people to respect us. We want white people to look at our differences and appreciate and value that, right? And that black isn't bad. But in the same sentence, we are outing black people that think differently, act differently, and look differently in our own culture.
That's real talk.
So how the hell are we going to try to be liberated on one side and be the oppressor? We're trying to liberate ourselves from the oppressor on one side, but become the oppressor on the other side of that liberation.
Right on.
I mean, just being honest.
So I watched the Latino one. They did the same one with the Latinos, which is interesting because they skipped right over the colors. They had 2 black women there. But then that was just deep. And then I watched the one on the feminism. And that shit, let me tell you who represented the black woman on there. A trans woman, a man who's a woman now, and then this sister who we would think was ghetto, but I agree with all the shit she said, because she was like, yeah, this is nice, but I'm trying to get this money. And she said, Donald Trump, yeah, his dad gave him $1 million, but you have to keep that $1 million. I was like, oh, so she had more of a street, but I think to myself, and then there's a bunch of white women, and they were like, oh my God, because they was trying not to pull that black card out. How could you as a black person, they was trying not to say the shit. You know, and because that's what she said, yeah, I voted for Trump, well, the transgender person didn't, but the black woman did. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, I did, because we need something different. I need somebody, I know what time it is. And I said, oh shit. See, they wasn't expecting that from her because it was apparent that she was very hood, but she wasn't stupid. Because her environment don't look like the rest of you privileged motherfuckers, basically. Yeah. One lady was like, yeah, I'm Jewish. But it's like, how the fuck we gonna know you Jewish? How the fuck we gonna know you gay? Like when we look at you, I'm just saying, the black woman's like, I'm black as fuck, I'm ghetto, I'm up here with these braids. You know what I mean? I know my reality. I know my history. I don't need you to remind me. Yeah. And I was like, this is kind of deep. And the trans person couldn't really say much because they started talking about things that really impact black women, like being head of households and being poor. Well, that ain't their experience.
Yes.
You know, reproductive health, that ain't their experience.
Yeah.
So the person was kind of quiet. I got finished watching the rest of it. But I was to myself, this is deep because that so-called sister that was ghetto, she held her fucking own. She shut their asses down. I was like, see, they wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
They just wasn't ready for it. But again, it's the thing around diversity and why we can't really have these real conversations. That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, I think that when, you know, there were some unfortunate situations that happened, you know, over the weekend, because as folks know,
talk to us about that, Barry.
As folks know who are in the know to what I do, like I have none of this stuff I've done hasn't been anything that I've done overnight, and I'm still totally involved in enforcing love in our community, as well as you know, making sure we stand in the gap of violence with me and a bunch of my soldiers that continue to be on the front line of community violence. So many folks like to utilize the myth, and you know, it's your favorite phrase, black on black crime. I don't subscribe to that, but I call it what it is, community violence. And just watching things that have happened in just some different areas, not only here in Sacramento, and doing my research and looking at some of the lifestyle that some of these folks live, and then when they get caught up, the RIPs or the pull through and all of the kind of support of the negative behavior, to me, it's way out, because a lot of what we don't tend to conversate about is how the actions of that person got them to the position that they're in currently. It is unfortunate when it happens, but we really have to look at it and pause and ask ourselves, are we doing ourselves a disservice by not looking at the structure of how certain individuals get to the places they get to? And we're not talking about the way that society is set up that kind of creates a person to fall into the life, but it's when you make the decision to fall into the life and understanding the lifestyle, what it offers you. And the lifestyle, to me, offers nothing but death, heartache, pain, and so many other different things that we as black people pretend, well, you know, I'm going to cry a river when it's my time, but when it happens to someone close to you or to you, it's we want to pretend like these folks that are in these situations are goody two-shoes, but in reality, they put themselves in this situation. So it's hard for us as African Americans, black people, whatever you want to call us, to really start engaging in this point the finger to someone else when we have yet to really sit down and ask ourselves with the serious questions, what are we doing to prevent and what are we doing to change what is happening to us culturally? Because I believe a lot of what happens to us culturally is definitely historic and practices that happen currently, but then we play the antagonistic as well as we create these situations right in front of us because we have yet to sit there and take accountability to the current stage of what is happening. We continue to perpetuate the behavior in the music and the lifestyle with our kids, generational. It's just almost like, if I knew, for me, perfect example was me and my father didn't have a great nurturing relationship as son and father. I made sure with my daughter that was going to be a totally different thing. My dad left when I was 18, took care, 18, peace out, I'm out of here. Me and my daughter, she's 23 years, that's one of my greatest friends, you know what I mean? And to me, that's important to break the cycle because I don't want my daughter to be in a world to where I couldn't provide resources, some access, and some good timely advice. That's not saying that she's going to take everything I have to say to her face value, but you will at least hear some wisdom coming from a place of love. And I think that when we continue to pretend that these things and these conversations don't need to be met, we lose more and more people because a lot of the cycle of violence, I believe, comes from just simply folks not really knowing who their real true self is and then being involved in environments that no one is supporting them to get out of. You know what I mean? So I think that again, accountability is truly one of the defining moments that we as black people have to start looking into. Are we accountable for our actions? Two, let's not normalize or glorify behavior and negativity. Let's be truthful, because everybody hurts. Whether that person was the worst person in the world, there's somebody that loves that person. You know what I'm talking about? There's somebody that's cheering that person on. There is good in that person. Not saying that the people are doing good all the time, but there is good in that person. But I think that when we start normalizing and glorifying certain behaviors, we leave ourselves open to when things and actions happen from what we've put out there in the atmosphere. Because as people know, karma is a motherfucker. And karma will come at you and hit you, and it will affect you in ways you won't even understand. But I honestly believe that until we, black people, hold ourselves more accountable to some of the things that happen to us, we're going to continue to repeat the cycles and the destructive behavior patterns. And I think black folks so often want to just kind of sweep it under the rug and want to say, no, the white man, because he did this. And let me tell you something.
Don't you start with that white man.
The white man is the catalyst of it all. But when you are a person that knows his roots and understand we are the creators of civilization,
right on,
how is it that it's so difficult for us to now not recreate? And that's kind of like what I feel on that.
So, well, wait a minute, Barry. Now, I read your post and you put that conversation up there, and I'm going to tell you, first couple of comments was like, you sounding like, you know, you...
Bill Cosby.
Yeah, something like that. And I said to myself, people who say shit like that are people who take no accountability for nothing. So you can't build with people like that. You can't. Because when something goes wrong, I didn't get the nails because the nail place closed. Nigga, you were supposed to bring the nails. Yeah. That's it. Why gotta be? I can't stand when Negroes can't have a conversation about us having accountability with ourselves. Yeah. I can't. I just don't have the energy for the shit. I just don't.
And, but you know what the thing about it, and you know, thank you, Queen Wendy. She's saying that, you know, there's so much pain. There is so much pain, but even in the sense of so much pain, as Wendy is saying that to us, we've normalized the pain.
Right on.
we've normalized it. Right on. Queen sis, when I tell you how impacted I was going to another scene, another car, another shooting, another young person fighting for their life, more people gathering around a hospital, you know, pouring out liquor, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, trying to cope, trying to figure out, some talking about revenge, others talking about what's next, and the victims of these crimes still conducting their life normally as if this was just another day in the hood. That shit to me is crazy. I think I was more traumatized by the reaction of my people compared to the actual incident that happened. Because I'm looking at them like, yo, this is your people, like, fighting for their life. And it's almost kind of like, well, man, you know, man, he gonna fight, but, you know, this is what it is. And to me, hell nah. I made a decision consciously in 2008. I no longer will perpetuate. I will no longer be a part of carrying on a tradition that has plagued my community. And this is former hustler. This is former get it how you live. This is former do whatever to get it by any means necessary. This is go get a Negro or send a Negro to go get a Negro. That kind of attitude, brother. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't got to be in the trenches of the hood to get your hands dirty. And that's what I think some of the hoodest Negroes is some of the most cowardice Negroes, just to let's be very clear.
Oh, shit.
Okay, you know. And my thing was, I didn't want to have to put myself in a position. One, I didn't want to have my daughter, who's now growing up to be an older young woman, right? She's going into her teenage years. I can't keep on having 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because what will it be the effects of her? I don't know the consequences of my choices. It may not result in a consequence for me, but it could result in a consequence for her, which will result into a consequence for me.
Right on.
Though she has to take the brunt of it. So, to clean my soul, I said I'm out. And I'd rather be what we consider the square bear or whatever, but the squarest thing, if you call it that, as a man, is actually the realest thing, because once you decide that that's just not for you no more, because I don't have time to play the politics, I don't got time to play getting caught up and having to be there where the judge is sitting there, the lawyers are sitting there, whoever's sitting there saying, hey, brother, just 30 years you going to face. What you finna do? You going to go ahead and snitch on your mans? I don't have time for that, right? I don't have time to have 2-3 felonies. Hearing some of my brothers like, yeah, man, I'm 2 felonies in. 1, I'm done. So you're telling me that you make one mistake and they consider it a felony, you're done? And you only are, what, 23, 24, 30 years old? That attitude for me is something that I could not wake up with every day, or even a simple fact to know that I did to something to someone else's father, someone else's son or daughter, that had to happen because of the life cycle of violence that I was incorporated in. You get what I'm talking about?
Oh,
like I had to go take out someone to send a message. To sit back and to live with that kind of pain, that kind of anguish, that kind of paranoia, I'm good. I wake up knowing my only clear enemy, because my brother and my sisters, even though I do have some enemies, you're truly not my enemy. The only true enemy I have is a system, a systematic, racist and oppressive system that is usually conducted by our pale-faced folks. And by sleeping with that, knowing that those are the folks that are watching and will probably take me out before my people, because my people, if they take me out, they don't know why. They're just doing it because it's just some anguish, right?
And ain't nobody gonna go to the street for you.
We
kill each other.
Exactly. They're gonna do that.
Ain't nobody gonna get no payday.
I sleep better knowing what it is compared to kind of fighting this endless fight. Because I told folks in another post, I said, the Negro, and we're going to talk about this later, the Negro who continues to say that we are at war against pale folks is a blind Negro who ain't seeing what real warfare is. We are in genocide. Genocide. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when we go into the subjects that we're going to dive into. You know what I'm saying?
Right on. So, Barry, I just thought it was interesting. A lot of people agreed with your post. I mean, they wrote good comments. But there were a few people because somehow when we start talking about accountability, people always got to avert it to something else. I was talking this morning on my way in to work how I grew up with a parent who did not believe in excuses. And I think that definitely impacted me and my siblings. Yeah. My mother was just how she rolled. And I told her, I don't know about y'all, but I know the people I come from didn't believe in that shit at all. Because they survived all the shit that the pale people threw at them. They never banked on them being kind or nice or selling them something. They always figured out a way to get around these goddamn people. Always. So I don't quite understand sometimes when we can't do that. I don't get it, Barry, but that's just me.
No, but I believe we can. I just don't think that we have obtained the certain value for ourselves, as well as we have not allowed certain folks to do the work and to support the work. And I'll give a perfect example.
All right.
Regardless of what a nigga want to say about Tyler Perry, let us give him a
yes, we do. I agree. I agree.
First black-owned film studio.
Right on.
Let me say that again. First. And you know, you and I hate when we talk about this first shit, because how are we still talking in 2019? First
shit. That's real talk.
That's bullshit. If we still talking about that. And regardless of
how you feel about his films, that's real talk.
He put on the dress. But I understand the dress part. Why? Because, and niggas have all this certain idea, right? Well, the way they demasculine, what is that word? Demasculize, put us in this more feminine state, right? With the black man. And one of the reasons why, what's the good brother, Dave Chappelle, walked away from, his show, his powerful show, the Dave Chappelle show, was because they wanted him to put on the dress. But the reality for me is, when I was coming up watching my comedy, just watching the Eddie Murphys and watching the Jamie Foxxes of the world or whatever, the Martin for sure, the characters that they played.
Jamie Foxx?
Yep, it said Jamie Foxx.
Yep.
The characters that they played, to me, wasn't, in my idea, them selling out. It was them playing a character that reminded
me of
them
somebody
of their grandma, and
that's how I
they were the only people that were able to play that kind of role. Like when Eddie Murphy did the Nutty Professor, I thought that was ingenious.
Yeah.
Him playing all them roles.
I
You understand
agree.
what I'm saying? I never looked at it like, the Negro selling out.
Yeah,
I
I
think
never
that we
tripped
put
on
too
that.
much of a frame, because then I could say that, well, shit, I was selling my soul out when I was a fifth grader, and I wore a little girl outfit. I mean, that was just fun to do, in a sense of it was nothing but comedy.
Right.
I don't go too deep. Now, if it becomes a thing to where this is everything they want you to do, oftentimes more or less, to say this is the only way up top, I understand it. But what we have to remember, Madea, as he made the character from the personality of his grandmother or whatever like that, Hollywood didn't open their arms to this Negro.
Well, you know who did though? Black folks did definitely, and a particular section of black people will be the church people.
Okay.
Because he
Yes,
says that.
yes.
He says that. My sister, blessed in memory, Renee, she used to love to go see his plays. I mean, all he was doing was plays. So,
Okay, and so that argument of he sold us out because of Madea, I
didn't see it like
I
that.
don't even really believe, even though there's been questions about his sexuality, I get it, but I don't even sit there and believe he was forcing or pushing like this. And y'all talk back to me if y'all don't agree.
Yeah.
But he was pushing a more of an LGBTQ
I don't think
code.
so.
I don't think he was doing
I don't
that.
think he was
Demasculizing the black man. I don't believe it. I think he was just being funny with a character. And I
do
thought
too.
the Medea character on so many times was outrageous on levels. Was a
That's
little
like
bit
when
overboard.
we laughed at Shanae.
Yeah, exactly.
With the
Man.
nails, because we know women get their nails done, and we be like,
Listen,
like, come on.
Everything. So I don't
Yeah,
really look
yeah,
at
I
it
agree.
as
I agree.
it was just the worst thing.
I agree.
I saw it as strategy, because Madea, the character, opened the door for all of the other ideas,
That's
thoughts.
your
He came out with one of the most powerful dad movies with
Oh, Four Little Girls.
yeah,
Something like that.
that was
Daddy's
it.
Girls.
Daddy's Girls.
Sorry.
With
yeah.
Idris, you know, so that blew him up. And of course, he did other stuff like Wire, but that really set him apart in a right. Well, this dude can act, and this was a British actor, right? He's just not no actor in a drug dealing persona. He can break down and act like this. So the thing about it is, with Tyler Perry, he opened a lot more effing doors than he did closing them. And what the doors were was the doors of black independence. Because Hollywood, even though his resume said, hey, I'm a sure win, they didn't let him in. You know what I'm saying?
That was right, though, because he wouldn't have been able to go for self if he had.
Okay, but I'm just
They
saying.
ignored Hollywood.
True.
He said that. He did an interview and said they ignored me.
That's what I mean.
That's beautiful.
That's what I'm saying. So at the
But
end of the day,
isn't that what we're doing right now? When you have Trump ignoring black folks, what it make you do? It make you go for self.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, yeah, Cam. Big Mama's House. Big Mama's House, Martin, that shit was hella funny.
Yeah.
Like, niggas wasn't thinking like, nigga selling out. But if you don't want to wear it, I get it. But Martin didn't have to do that. Martin basically said, I'm going to do Big Mama. But why? Because Shanae was so successful.
Yeah.
When he played the part of his grandma, Martin, it was so successful. You understand what I'm saying?
His mom was hilarious.
Yeah, so-
she did not like Gina's ass.
So
Right on.
kudos to what a brother has done, because we've had black directors, black producers
Black
before
stories.
him. Before him, we're gonna have him after him, and what he's did is set a precedence of what? Do for self, ownership, and that shit is huge. It's humongous. Anybody hating on that, we gotta really look at you
them.
and
That's true.
ask, well, because a lot of niggas have done a lot more selling out, selling drugs in our community, molesting folks in our community, creating mass violence, and we still accept them.
So hold on. Because big ups to Tyler Perry. I mean, come on, man. And I'm the main one to say, hey, I like Tyler Perry. I don't see myself in Tyler Perry's movies, but I like Tyler Perry. That's cool. So again, that means that we're not a monolith. So you're supposed to be able to see the many different stories. But Wesley Snipes just came out and said the remake of New Jack City is glorifying drug culture. Now, you know he played Nino Brown in the first one. I don't know if you remember New Jack City. But I remember all the goddamn violence at the theater when that shit was
that
over
motherfucker. New Jack City, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Juice. Those movies coming in my era when I was really, like, I could know better, Some of the other movies before, like Do the Right Thing, I was still too young. But in those movies, it was almost like a back to back, right? And then you have other movies like, Fresh, New Jersey Drive, you know what I mean? Some honorable mentions, you know what I mean?
But New Jack City was different than all the movies.
That's what I'm saying.
Why. Go ahead.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, because the violence that happened in the theaters when people went to go see this shit was unprecedented. But that's all I'm saying.
But the same thing happened with Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood.
There was
there was violence. Yes, there was violence in Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society. You shit me? I was one of the ones involved in the madness. Yes.
Damn, I know New Jack City.
So that's what I'm saying.
Being on the
that's what I'm saying. Woo. So in the reality of it, those movies that were kind of like motion picture of the lifestyle that a lot of us were embarked in the late 80s, early 90s, were movies that we saluted, we loved, and we embodied. And now that we know how destructive those movies were, and I think we gravitated to those movies so much because, one, we didn't see people like us on TV in that kind of way. Yes, there was the black exploitations in the 70s.
Yeah, but that really wasn't the same.
But it wasn't the same.
Like
now, me being a young...
That shit was like fantasy.
Yeah, me being a young,
Black exploitation was fantasy.
A young kind of hip-hop kid, and knowing that storyline was a depiction of what was going on in Oakland, you know what I'm saying, with with Felix Mitchell and what he was doing out in Oakland in the Bay, for all my people out in the Bay, watching that, to me, is anti-hero Nino Brown. I wanted to be him until he said he started snitching. But that's what was the whole thing about it. You know what I mean? It was like we gravitated to those anti-heroes because what we saw and what we knew on the streets was those were the Negroes. So when it was glorified and we had our own Scarface.
Don't forget hip-hop contributed to that too.
True,
the soundtrack was bomb.
We had our own Scarface. Watching Scarface and then seeing our own Scarface, shit, you could not tell me. You could not tell me. Because things to me, when we were hustling wasn't bad. Only thing that was bad off of hustling is, to me, were when you got caught up or you got hooked up.
So the only thing I really have to say about movies, like, because I grew up watching some of those movies, so I ain't gonna front. I did watch Boys in the Hood. I watched Menace to Society maybe once or twice. Those are one. Yeah. I did watch New Jack City a hell of times. I mean, because that was one to be on VHS or some shit. But I think the unrealistic thing about all those movies, it did not tell the story of the people who had to survive all the people who was doing that shit. Because to me, that's the real story. The real story is not the drug dealer or the drug user or the gangbanger. It's the gangbanger's mama. It's the gangbanger's community that had to deal with him either dying or be in jail, so he can't contribute to his community. So when we talk about economics and why is the black community so stagnant, well, hell, half y'all went to jail, which means you couldn't contribute. Yeah. You couldn't, protect your family. You couldn't, you know what I'm saying? Or if you were a drug user, your kid ended up in foster care. We never get to hear that backdrop, even in New Jack City. Yeah. We just get, we allow people to allow us to focus on this shiny thing here, but not the rest of the picture that is the most important part of the goddamn picture. Like water without earth and trees and air, it's just water.
Well,
you know what I'm
saying? In argument for New Jack City, they did show Pookie. They showed the effects.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. If Pookie had a child... No, for real, because I think we always
no,
look at the drug addict.
Hold on a second. We saw when Nino Brown grabbed the child and used
That's
her.
not what I'm talking about, Barry. That's not what I'm talking about. So what if Nino Brown, maybe if the directors are listening to this some kind of magical way, if you was to give us some backdrop of the impact. See, my thing is, okay, great, we had New Jack,
so basically,
all that.
Don't reboot, do the New Jack. The impact of New Jack City.
Oh, now see, that I would be interested in. If you tell me what happened, maybe Nino Brown had some kids. He was, what happened to those kids?
Because I still want to know what happened to the Nino Brown chick that he was, took G Money.
Yeah, because she could have been pregnant. I'm just saying. Or that's one of the things I liked about Black Panther. The part where they talked about when the boy's father was killed, how that impacted his life. Man. We do not ever want to talk about the impact of when horrific shit happened to black people. We be focusing on the white man or this one man who went to jail. What about the whole goddamn community? Why are we still just getting our first black-owned studio? We have black movie stars for at least 100 goddamn years.
That becomes a bigger problem.
Made me drink this coffee.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Spike Lee was there.
Now, I'm not going on Spike. I can't fuck with Spike.
And I love I love Spike except for when Spike jumped on Samuel Jackson's arm and was saluting the fact he got an Oscar, but 2 years prior was we shouldn't be going to the Oscars. I'm just being honest.
And you know, he didn't speak to Samuel Jackson for years because they had a falling.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, go ahead, because you know we love Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But the reality is, why are we celebrating something that we should have already had? And that becomes my thing.
Or created for ourselves. Shit, you got the Oscar. Let's have the Portier. Shit.
Exactly.
We can have the Portier
Awards.
Yeah, that's shit. I like that. I heard that on the Guycast. I was like, the Portier sounds dope.
Man, Portier sounds terrific.
Yeah.
Because and that's why my
tough.
thing. And we want to ask y'all a question as y'all listening.
Thank you, Wendy.
Do we need white acceptance? Do black people, I need y'all, if y'all listening in, please tell us the yes or no.
Do niggas need air?
Do we?
Sorry.
Do black people need the acceptance of white people for validation of us being here in America? Like, do we really need white acceptance? Is that our validation? Because for me, I don't know why it took only Tyler Perry.
Cam said, hell no. Okay.
Okay, Cam, hell no to you, right?
I'm with you, Cam, but go ahead.
You know, to you, but Cam, then I'm going to go deeper. Why is it that if you're saying no, it seems like we are always gravitating to purposely making white people feel comfortable, right? Forgiving their motherfucking monkey asses for everything they do, and then not building. Because as much as we're celebrating the first black-owned film studio, black people have been isolated from this thing called Hollywood way before
which was built off of the
Tyler
backs
Perry.
of all of those stereotypes.
Exactly.
Don't get that.
Way before. And I don't understand why we have not been able.
That's a whole other story.
You said Lee Daniels, huh?
No. I hope he named one of those studios for Hattie McDaniels instead of Diane Carroll. Diane Carroll, I guess.
Yes.
Because that's another story.
Yeah.
But Hattie McDaniel kicked that door. Kicked that door open. All those black maids that played, them the ones who kicked the door open. Not no fake, let's act like we rich on Julia. You know, come on. Like, I think we forget about those black people who kicked those doors. Hattie McDaniel, Louise Beaver. I could just go on down the list. I know we don't want to be riches. Is one of those studios named for her? But I just, again, that's a whole other topic. Because we know that those people who we are so embarrassed of kicked those doors in. And not the glorified nigga flying through them now.
That's what I'm saying. And that's my part. The frustration that I have is why is this first now? The first should have been a long time ago, and this should be the 10th, the 5th. This should be like, all right, our 12th one open. Because my thing is, if they're locking you out, why are we continually trying to find a back door to get back in? Why not make your own shit? And I'm going to use this simple analogy.
All right.
For folks who are in relationships, right? How many of y'all who are in a relationship or have been in a relationship, and I'm going to ask you, Queen, so for the folks to keep up with me.
Okay.
If you have a spouse, are y'all going to have 1 or 2 cars?
Probably 2.
Why?
Because we probably have to go to different places at the same time, so we're going to need different cars.
1 or 2 bank accounts?
Probably 2, because we probably came into the relationship with our own bank account. So usually you have a joint one, then you have your own.
But in the reality, what would be the real purpose to have at least 2 cars instead of 1?
Because you have other things to do. You're accumulating things. You can get more things. You get 2 things. You can get double as much done as having 1. That's how I look at it.
Now, when you and that person break up for whatever reason, what ends up happening?
We split it.
Black people.
We split it.
We're in a domestic violence relationship with white America. Pale America, whatever.
That's right.
For us to continue to jump in the same car, knowing that if you guys had 1 car, whether your name was on that car, bought the car, whatever, if that Negro got a key, what is that Negro going to be able to say?
It's my car.
Bitch, that's my car. You know what I'm saying? If your names are of one person's name on the lease, and it's your name, right? And this nigga came up in your house, right? Because he needed a bed to sleep in, and next thing you know, it's a relationship. Regardless of how many years you've been there by yourself, the 2-3 years, legally this mother effer could sit there and say what? Him not being on the lease. Can say what?
If they ain't on the lease, you can get arrested. Like, he ain't on the lease. You got to go, player.
No. He can sit there and say, no, this is my spot. Like, you could not, in a court of law, really kick a person out without giving their eviction notice.
That's right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and vice versa for a person. You want to make sure that I want to go, no, baby, I want to be on the lease too, because just in case we break up, I don't want to leave. You can leave. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So my thing is,
Barry,
I'm just trying to be real simple in our math equation.
That's so true. She said they gave Spike the Oscar to shut him up. Yeah. I agree with that.
I just want to be very clear.
That's real talk.
That it makes no sense.
Even though he complained about Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
The more people supporting him than support. I mean,
well, he still showed up. But what I'm saying, I want to be very clear.
Of course he gonna show up.
That if Negroes continue to jump in a car that they know the driver is drunk and intoxicated, and that car crashes, it becomes whose fault? Not the driver that's driving it. It becomes the passengers that keep on getting in the car. So my whole attitude is, if I'm with someone, trust and believe, we can have our joint account, but I'm going to have my own account, and I'm going to have my own car, just in case there ain't no funny business, and just like we said, we can get a lot more done. So that's not saying, babe, let me borrow the Jeep. That's not saying that. Right. But I want to have the option to know I got my own shit. Right. So black people, we keep on giving us minimum options because we have no options and no alternative, and that's why they can give us anything they want, tell us how to do it, when to do it, because Negro, you not going nowhere.
Wait, we got some comments here. The source of my freedom is not white people. Right on, Wendy. Listen, I'm at the point where I don't even want to coexist with them in any capacity. Okay. Cam, I don't know if that's a man or woman. Bird says right. Sister Dana says, as long as we don't unite at the very base level with other blacks with regards to infrastructure, redevelopment, a code, or an agreement to build, we seek the acceptance of others.
And Queen Dana's right on point.
Yeah. I just don't think, I think I agree with Dana. I love Dana. I agree. But I also think we got to stop also thinking all black people want to unite. That's the only thing about being black, because we're looking at you black like I'm black. But what if you, case in point, yesterday I was at Walmart trying to find an adapter for a computer I just found in the box. It's crazy. That's all the story. So play my garage out. And I thought the man was black. No, he was an Indian. And he let me know that he was an Indian. He wasn't black. And I was like, I really don't give a fuck. I just need to find this piece of thing. Yeah. But he was all on somebody else's jock. But that's a whole other story. But sometimes we make this assumption that all black people are wanting the same thing, and it is not. Some people want to be slaves to these people.
Yes.
Some people want to be co-conspirators with the enemy.
Yes, ma'am.
What do we do with those people?
I mean, I don't know what we need to do with those people, but I don't really bother with those people.
Me either, Barry.
I just keep on.
But I get what you're saying,
I keep on working on what we need to work on. But here's the case in point. And going back into the white acceptance.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy.
We buy our own house. Go ahead.
Yeah, we buy our own house. What did she say? That's why we buy a house together.
I got that.
Buy a house together, but we gotta buy the house together. Right. You don't buy the house and then I'm like, hey, we free financing? No, nigga, I refinance it. I'm just saying. No, nigga, I refinance it. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. But here goes it to it. Let's now get into the nitty gritty of what this whole thing is really about.
Get it, man.
Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the last, just a week, within days of, as I like to call her, no Amber, no cry, the Dallas police officer that got convicted by killing the brother in Dallas. And that's the first time a white woman has ever been convicted, a white police officer has ever been convicted. So we talk about first times with Tyler Perry, like Jesus, as much, I mean, don't get me wrong, the pale-faced male has done his work, but there's been some pale-faced females that have done some work as well on black people. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's the mom and everything like that. Now, the reality is, she's been convicted 10 years. Now, when you hear about the conviction, you celebrated. It was like, yes. Niggas was like, that's why you have a black judge, you have black jury, that's why you show up to jury duty, justice has been served, and what I wanted, unfortunately, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts, because I shared it with one of my colleagues, I said, I want her to be found innocent, because I really want Negroes to realize this system is not for us, because guilty will make Negroes celebrate, as they did. And as they did, the unthinkable started to happen. Now shit starts to unravel. So I basically got what I wanted, and it came in a whole different kind of way. One, you now have the conviction, because we heard the guilty, so we didn't know what the actual guilty would mean. Now that guilty now, for her, as killing an innocent person for no reason but she just killed an innocent person. She only got 10 years. Now here's where the controversy starts.
But she cried, Mary. She was sorry.
Within his 10 years, she, with her white tears, that I don't really care too much about, was hugged by the brother in an emotional, like, it was like the Gone with the Wind kind of fucking situation. I was like, shit, am I watching?
Damn, Gone with the Wind.
Yeah,
Damn,
like,
Mary, you went back with me.
And sometimes I really thought, well, is he fucking with the young boy or something like that? Because it was an emotional response from both parties. There was acts of forgiveness as well as something unprecedented that happened. The judge also embraced and hugged Amber. Now the judge hugging Amber to me was way out. The family doing the thing that they did, because I cannot conduct myself in a manner saying how a person heals to move forward with the families is something that I can't say, well, they should be acting like me, fuck that broad, whatever. I can't sit there and say that, because how they heal is how they heal. If that's what they need to move on, boom. But I hear also that's kind of their religious prowess, that's what their whole mentality is supposed to be.
I hope they treat everybody like that. That's not the white woman crying. That's the only thing with that religious bullshit. Because we'll talk that shit. Look, this white supremacy shit has terrorized Africans worldwide. So we'll do shit for them we wouldn't even do for ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
To me, if you say that, I can feel that.
And I get that. But now going into this situation, just to finish it all up.
Right on.
Now, I know there's people saying the bailiff was rubbing the hair and stuff.
Yeah, she fixed her hair.
But I don't know if that was because they were checking to see she had weapons. I don't know. There yet. I mean, that's Queen. Listen what I'm saying. That's what folks were saying, that was part of the process of that. I don't know that.
Like she wasn't going with the wind. Like she was had McDaniel. Missy, it's okay. The South gonna rise again. Come on.
Now, the judge, like, what the fuck are you hugging? The black folks forgiving? I don't know about that. But what happens to proceed after all of this? Joshua Brown, a black father, the key star witness, on Friday got assassinated.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe that was black on black crime, man.
Of course,
seems to show his own head.
Of course it's going to be black on black crime, because they're going to find a Negro that's going to pin it on him that did it. Now, it went from the controversy where Negroes was arguing back and forth about forgiveness. The Negroes brought out Bible scriptures. Negroes brought out Christianity. Negroes brought the militant, malicious. We need an eye for an eye. Everybody came out with their opinion, but the game changer came when Joshua Brown, a black father, was murdered. Remember, Joshua Brown was the neighbor in the same apartment. This apartment, from what I'm hearing,
everybody needs to move out that motherfucker, I tell you that.
Is not in no hooded area.
Oh.
Because think about it. Why would Amber be living in that same apartment? If it was hood, it was a decent place. Maybe so for someone to be shot, and at first the media reported it was a drive-by, but reports now from the lawyer said he was shot in his mouth.
Oh shit, that's very personal.
Now, everything is flipping around saying we're not even talking about forgiveness. We're actually talking about the actual stance that was taken with this young black male. I don't think I've heard one person denounce the fact that said it was a black on black crime, it was some outside situation. I think that every single person has been on agreement that this shit was an inside job. This had to do with the case. My point that I'm making now is, has our forgiveness made us more weak and docile? And because we are not an eye for an eye kind of culture, but an eye for an eye culture against each other. If you and I were gang rivals and you took mine, I would have but 24 hours to 2 days to take one of yours. Whereas they have just killed Joshua Brown. We can talk about this as a conspiracy, but I'm walking through the line and the letter of the law, and where he was at, Dallas ain't no place where they accepted some Negroes. Let's be very honest. Texas ain't a state.
Texas. You don't mess with Texas.
Texas ain't a state where they're embracing and loving the Negro culture. This is not D.C. This is not New York. This is Texas. This is not about a lot of black people there. But trust me, when I go out to Dallas, Houston, I know where I'm at.
And they were the last state to free their enslaved people.
Talk to them.
But go ahead.
So the reality is now, I'm asking, an eye for an eye. They showed us our card. They showed us their card. They did not take not 1 second to show, because now you don't have a key witness to do what? To be on the stands again to fight the appeal. Because once she appeals the case, where's your key witness? And do you honestly think any other witnesses after watching what happened to Joshua Brown? Because there's another girl that was a key part of the case.
Yeah.
Her name is Bunny or something like that. That she's fearing for her life. Do you really honestly now think that this officer is going to even get 10 years? Because if you're killing witnesses and jurors...
But you know what the answer is, Barry.
Jurors ain't going to come. Why do we as black people have this mentality of forgive and move on, where pale folks have this mentality that we will show you who's boss and we mean business?
Now, Barry, that's all I got to say is that there's one group who apparently believe in manifest destiny and they're going to take care of us. You have another group that they cloned and made into their nice little puppy dog. You ever see a dog and his master? You ever see how compassionate dogs are? You could kick the dog and he'll still come back and lick your feet. Like, come on. Like, I mean, come on. I know that's not kind of fucked up, y'all, but you know what I'm talking about. You know that, sometimes religion, we don't all use religion like Harriet Tubman did to free herself. We don't always use religion like Nat Turner did to free himself. Sometimes we use religion like we would use crack. Just to dull the pain a little bit. Go to those scriptures that mean you ain't got to get up and do shit. That's the best way I can tell it. I mean, we don't usually see revolutionary Christians. Let's talk about white people when they say praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. That ain't black Christians, unless you're talking about maybe killing another black person. That's different. But I'm just being honest with you. I just feel like those are the things we don't want to really talk about, Barry. And I feel everything you said. But what I also know is that if we know that to be true, why aren't we figuring out how do we protect that last witness? Or better yet, why the fuck even wait on that? But that's a whole other topic. Because if we was Italians, it'd be looking different. If we was in the Italian mafia, it'd be looking different.
And my case in point is as well, as I put up a post about this, George Zimmerman's still chilling. That was 2013. This is 2019. Like, if it was a coincidence, then, everything that we post and everything that we saying, you know what? Shame on us. But to me, I don't see no coincidence in this situation. The brother had already been targeted already. And the simple fact, when you watch him, how he was tearing up, and he wasn't crying because he was crying about the moment. He was crying, I believe he was tearing up because he knew that he was putting himself in a position like, damn. And then in the reality of this culture of no snitching that black people have kind of owned, well, in a sense of snitching, would we consider him being a snitch? In a sense, because now he got shot in his mouth. That's personal to me. If that's what happened,
that's deep.
That just lets you know, quiet your motherfucking mouth. But my thing is, how is it that you have George Zimmerman still boastfully moving and grooving and doing whatever he wants to do, and Josh Brown wasn't able to see a bit of his life? He was killed for speaking up and doing the right thing. Not only will that stop other witnesses for speaking out against police, but this also speaks to a higher volume of why many police officers don't go and snitch outside of the culture. They know what's going to end up happening. This is a deeper, like a syndicate and deeper mafia and deeper gang, which is police culture, than we ever have imagined. They walk around knowing they're above the law, and for good reason. There is not no witnesses. There is not no suspects. There is no lead. This young man in this apartment where this woman killed another man, and there was a whole bunch of people that could say, hey, no, this happened, that happened. There is silence. And it speaks to the volume of black people and our acceptance of white people. How is it that culturally you and I can be in a dispute? I can turn back around and kill you when you are the same color of my skin. I can be in a dispute with a white person, pale folk, whatever you want to call them, and they can live to see another day. They can continue to brutalize us. They continue to wipe us off this face of this earth, and there's no repercussions. Negroes do not fire back. And we don't send this clear message, don't fuck with one of ours, but we constantly fucking with each other. How is that? How can we even look at ourselves and say to ourselves honestly that we're in war? War, the definition of that to me is there's casualties on both sides. Eye for an eye. You take one of mine, I'm going to take 10 of yours. That's not happening with us.
That's that real general shit.
But that's not happening with us.
We ain't had no generals in
the
the
we marching, we protesting, and trust me, I've been on both front lines of it. And I'm not saying to be a martyr, but I'm just really advocating the idea of, because we won't protect our own, because we crucify and we penalize and we terrify our own communities and allow them to come police our community, and then when one of ours is taken out, there's no repercussions. None. On the other side is going to continue to be bold and continue to put it in our face. And they've put it in our face, and nobody has done nothing. But when a Negro does something to a Negro, it will take 24 hours, a few days, and that Negro is done. And it be for lesser shit.
All right, hold on. We got some comments in here. We blowing up here. Dana says, for me, forgiveness doesn't mean I'm dealing with you below the surface, but it does mean I'm forgiving the energy it took to focus on you and what you did, and I'm about to transform that energy and focus on what we need to do. That's what Dana's saying on that one. Khadijah said, what does it matter? They can let this motherfucker free with the testimony. Stop acting like his dying really matters about the outcome. Brother Cam, or Sister Cam, I'm sorry, says preach. Dana says, oh, I'm speaking in general. You are all talking about the case. Sorry, okay. Then Khadijah says, so why none of the gangsters, revolutionary brothers, haven't put a bullet in Zimmerman's ass yet? I ask that question all the time.
I ask it all the time.
I think if we paint his face black and throw him out in the hood, they may shoot his ass.
I mean,
okay, so
it's real.
Even if we had a witness, there is no justice in America for the black man. Come on.
But
thank you, Barry. She's saying thank you, Barry.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, and that's what we're trying to hit on. The point of discussion is literally that let's start defining truly what our plight is in America. This ain't no war. Ain't no war. It's genocide. Because we are taking the hits. And
it's been genocide.
Yeah, but I think that sometimes because I was also confused. I said, we're at war. Nah, Negro.
Well, some of us, when you are aware we're at war, then you're at war.
Yes.
When you are aware, when you're constantly in the battle, it can be like war. But if you're dead and stinking, then it's genocide.
Yes, yeah.
When you think these people got your back and they're steady killing you, that's genocide.
Yeah. And
some of us understand that.
And I think that becomes the position of what we have to really look at, and we have it in terms of Joshua Brown, right? Where everyone is upset and sick about it, but nobody's gonna do shit about it, right? Nobody. Nipsey Hussle's killer.
Shut your mouth.
I'm just saying, the niggas was sick about that. The gangsters ain't even took care of the allegedly who did it. Because niggas all want to make a conspiracy theory on it was this, it was that. And I said, okay, if it was the LAPD, well, who taking out some LAPDs? I mean, whose house is getting hit? It's just, to me, it's difficult for me to believe that we're really ready to be revolutionary, because everything that displays revolutionary ain't really what it is, and our actions constantly tell me that there's only a bit of us that is really ready for that real time.
So do you think maybe, Bear, I just had an epiphany. Do you think maybe some of us are just zombies? Because zombies is like the Night of the Living Baseheads. It's like zombies just walk around. They don't have a fucking clue on nothing.
Yeah.
That's what zombies do. You ever feel like you've been in a group of zombies? You understand there's some shit going on, but everybody's like, what are you talking about? You make everything about the white people.
Yeah.
You make everything about, what about the other groups? And it's like, nigga, the other groups are doing great.
Yeah.
Nigga,
Compared
you're
to
the
us.
one that ain't doing great.
Yeah.
So do you possibly think maybe we could be in some zombie kind of apocalyptical shit
Are we
going
on some
right now?
I
Like,
think-
help me out.
I think we're in some savior and some hero is gonna come lead us to the direction because we've had.
They don't make you a zombie. They
well,
just make you a.
I just think we're waiting
Shit.
for. I believe
We're
before we're sheep, but we're also waiting for the hero. Like there was that old school
I
song.
need a
I need a
hero.
hero. I need a hero.
Before the other night, and he's gotta be strong, and he's gotta be fast, and he's gotta be quick to the fight.
I need a hero. That's what it is.
Hey, man, yo. Yo,
We
damn.
didn't
We did
talk
not
about
rehearse that.
We
We
didn't
did
rehearse
not.
that.
But
Listen, but that's what it is.
Wow.
Because the
Woo.
Negro has been sold the
shit.
savior. That is what the Negro has been taught is the hero. I mean, let's be real clear on it.
Shit.
When we were coming up, any time, any frame, it
Damn.
was either a John Wayne, it was either a Mel Gibson,
That's so
an
the
Arnold
Cowboys. The
Schwarzenegger.
Cowboys.
It was a, you know what I'm saying? Remember, we were raised off of Cowboys and Indians when it should have been the Indians versus the Cowboys.
Right on. That's real talk. That's real
Them
talk.
Indians is the bad guys. You throw it on your cowboy hat, like shit, we gonna get some idiots.
That's so true.
Because the Indians
Right
were
on,
supposed to be
the bad
the
people.
bad people.
That's so true.
So then, because I'm going to piss some people some Christians on my thing, we have been
shit.
taught to be submissive to the Lord power, Jesus. You know, when you hear that Jesus isn't died for your sins, you're like, all right, well, shit. Jesus going to handle my enemies anyway. No, Negro, you got to handle your enemies.
That's real talk, Mary.
Jesus gave you the
know we-
power to
you
be
know
able
we
to
ain't-
handle
You
it.
know we ain't ready for that shit,
I'm just
man.
saying, so we've been told, and then the proximity of what we've been shown is the Savior is who?
The white people.
Come
Some
on
white
now.
man on a horse and shit.
So the reality for us, a lot of us, and it's not everybody, because trust me, I know most of us on here clearly ain't thinking that way, is we're waiting for some white Savior, pale-faced Savior, to really say, oh, stop my children. Release the black people. Because even in history,
Oh, shit.
we're taught that who freed the slaves?
Lincoln.
Instead of it, it was a war that the Negroes
Yep.
contributed to
Yep.
make sure they fought for their freedom.
Yep.
Negroes wasn't sitting there, come on, Abe, come on, Abe.
Who fought on both sides? Did y'all know that? Hey, I did a lot of study. I've been in the South. There were black people fighting on the Confederate side,
Of course.
as well as the Union side.
Of course.
And either side didn't want our ass, but that's a whole other
Exactly,
story.
but of course,
Didn't want us to be equal.
whoever was your
That's what I'm
master,
talking.
whoever was going to free you was going to be the one you fighting for. Understand what I'm saying? We couldn't get it right even on that. Where the Negroes who was fighting on the other side, where they were saying freedom over here, should have been, oh man, hold on, we finna kill these Negroes and help
And
y'all
take
out
it
a little
ourselves,
bit.
right on.
All right, but that becomes the
See.
issue. It don't really be zombies. It be Negroes is waiting
It definitely
for a
Negroes is be
savior,
zombies.
man. Negroes is waiting for their hero, man.
That's deep.
Every time, December, what Negroes gonna be waiting for? Santa Claus.
Coming down your chimney and you ain't
Motherfucking
even got no
chimney.
damn chimney. I'm just...
We parade around
Yes.
the idea, and it's no real laughing matter, so I don't want
That's
y'all
real
folks
talk.
to be thinking
No, I
that
laugh
make a
because
lot.
the shit is funny.
Because the shit is
You gotta laugh to keep from crying.
yeah, I'm crying inside, to
Yeah,
be honest
yeah,
with you.
real talk.
Because I just don't understand the ignorance, right? Because if I was some old gang, whoop, if that was me, right, I would go
Oh shit! Cause he
figure
just
out and
said
see some shit.
Not just the Christians, but the Muslims too, waiting for a white man to come save them.
Oh,
The
here
great
she go.
Mahdi,
Here she go.
the great Mahdi.
Here she go.
But that's a whole other.
And I think that whole level of idea, and every time, because it's almost like when folks be pointing at me, well, you're a leader, like you should be like, nigga, what? Who? I wasn't elected your leader
Do you think Trump is a part of the hero complex?
for sure.
Break that down.
You know, I think I
Please,
had.
because I just thought, thank you, Khadijah. I think Trump is a great hero because he make you get off your ass.
Yeah,
and do
well, I
something.
mean, you know, and for some folks, I think Trump is a piece of trash, but I accept and I'm loving the Trumpism. Why? Because Trump has again allowed people like us who come outside the framework of what it is to be able to speak truth to power and not be looked on as crazy.
Right. That's so true.
One of my brothers was defending Trump, saying Trump is our friend. And I'm looking at my brother like brother,
crazy?
Listen, I will accept that Trump has exposed what he's exposed, and I'm excited about that. But that nigga was near he ain't my friend.
Right on.
Because at the end of the day, what he's doing is the greatest thing that we could have asked for, is a gift of exposing politics in its truest form that a lot of us already knew. A lot of us already studied. He's just exposing the corruption.
That's real
He's
talk.
just exposing all of the things and ideas that folks would call conspiracy theories that is really a reality, and how they abuse power. But is this motherfucker my friend?
No.
Fuck no. Is he my hero? Hell no.
Right on.
But he is a hero to some.
Yeah.
And for some people, he's a hero because he's brought order in a way that has created this dominant idea for the pale folks. Because here's what the thing is.
He gave them a hero status.
What you niggas have to understand, while you constantly are trying to be accepted in this pale face reality, pale folks will never look at you as equal, because in the contents of American history, we are not. When you hear people say forefathers, you must challenge that, because those are not your forefathers. Those are the enslavers. Those are the rapists of this country. So I get very pissed off when I hear our forefathers, because they've been using a lot of that rhetoric as they've been trying to fall into this impeach Trump shit that we're going to talk about, not today, but later as it gets even closer to what it's going to be. But the reality is, we have to get out of that mentality to believe that there's going to be anyone that's going to fly through the air, that's going to be the next coming, or is going to come on Resurrection Day. Nah, because anybody that has seen how we've displayed our fight back would not want to come to resurrect shit, because there ain't nothing to resurrect.
That's real talk, Barry.
So you're asking for something, but you're not doing. And this is going out to the people that are really about their life. Go take care of the business so these folks can finally get back. Because there was once upon a time, pale folks was afraid of Negroes. You could not say the N-word without being physically checked.
Yep.
Not just checked verbally, physically checked. Now it's utilized in our culture to the way where white girls are saying it, and there ain't nobody doing nothing to nobody. But as soon as you and I engage in a confrontation, right, of some kind of manner, niggas got so much to say, but we don't do the same thing when it comes to white folks. You know what I'm saying? We'll let them say what they say, and they'll go on their whole, forgive me black people parade, and we forgive them, and we keep it moving. And
forgive me black people parade,
yeah, and some Negroes still haven't forgiven their family for lesser shit. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just saying though. So we have to really ask ourselves, when we truly start thinking about what we are involved in, are we truly prepared and we truly ready to cut off the umbilical cord and be free and really dictate ourselves in a manner to where you and I, if we do have an argument, an issue, it won't come down to violence. We don't need a negotiator to not look like us. We don't need a police officer to kind of deal with what our problem is. I don't necessarily believe black people are prepared to govern ourselves. Why? Because in the governing body that exists, we don't even know how to strategize in the governing body that we have currently today.
We can't even be responsible for each other. How the hell we gonna govern each other? No accountability, no responsibility. That's kryptonite to Negroes. If you throw out accountability, responsibility, we shrink right. It's like kryptonite, like the Superman. We just be like.
You forgot another thing: transparency.
Oh shit!
So the same thing.
You want too much.
Let's be honest. The same thing we're asking from the others, we can't even do for ourselves.
Real talk.
Joshua Brown went on the stand, did his due diligence for what we considered the justice system, and that boy was just served a death certificate. And we're going to be on here posting and talking about it.
Oh, you know that.
And saying everything else in the same sense of what we should do, what we could do. But no one is going to take the real steps to really start saying separation. And my thing about separation, it's not saying I'll never go to that Walmart, but it's also saying that I'll have my own that looks just like theirs.
Right on.
Because it's called being inconvenienced. When if we're talking about boycott, niggas want me to boycott the same place I gotta go get all my toiletries. Like when niggas sit there and say we gotta boycott Walmart, why the fuck am I gonna boycott Walmart? Because Target's just the same, right? And Walgreens is just the same.
And
what the fuck is
they're still open?
What the fuck is my alternative? You understand what I'm saying?
Right on.
It's easy to say boycott Walmart, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to a high ass Safeway to get the same product I could get to Walmart for $2-3 less. I spent $60 on Safeway and I got a meal for only like a day and a half. Where I could have went to Walmart, could have got a whole week of food.
Real talk. That's real talk.
So we have to start encouraging the build and start looking at what is our reality. And our reality, family, is they don't ever want us to obtain power in a way that we're thinking. And only true power comes with there's some bloodshed.
Oh,
Haiti
shit.
to this day has never recovered because Haiti shedded blood. And the blood of the Europeans is something they will never truly forget when Negro showed the true intensity of power. So if we don't want bloodshed, we have to start incorporating our own identity in our own areas, sort of like what Tyler Perry just did. What he said, thank you very much, Hollywood, but no thank you. We gonna do it on our own. If we don't support
I didn't need you anyway.
Yeah, if we don't support that narrative, if we don't see that, NBA, the NFL would be nothing without what? The Negro.
Yeah. Because it's in the letter, N.
The Negro.
It's for the Negro.
You know what I'm saying? The end
Negro
right there.
Football League.
It's the Negro Football League, the Negro Basketball Association.
Right.
Would mean nothing. Remember, you got the Major League. Are you
That's
following
real
us
talk.
right now, family?
That's
Right?
real talk.
Major League Baseball gonna still survive without the Negro because they got the Dominicans who are the Negroes as well, but they don't really want to try to accept it. But what I'm saying is, you have nothing. Hip hop is not hip hop without the Negro. So these three facets that we really control in numbers, we don't control in procedures, we don't control in bylaws, we don't control in companies, we don't control in infrastructure. So if we don't control the infrastructure, we get pimped out. Until we got to make a decision. It's either bloodshed or it's creating our own like we've done in the past and didn't sustain it because of the powers that be, because I'd rather do it now, and if they come after us, we know exactly who to point at, right? Because I don't think now one person with Joshua Brown dying has pointed a different direction. They're looking at shit, that Dallas PD had something to do with it, or some white militia group had something to do with it, her family had something to do with it. Somebody outside of some Negroes, and of course, it probably was a Negro was pulling the trigger because the Negro
always a nigga pulling the trigger.
The Negro will do things for less value for a nickel to a dime because they did it with Malcolm X.
That's true. That's so true.
Counter-revolutionary. They did it with Malcolm X, and they helped Martin Luther King get killed.
That's real talk. That's real. You know, Barry, one word you did leave out is that word sacrifice.
Ooh.
Niggas hate that word. No. I mean, everything you said was right on the money. But I find even if we did shit like sacrifice, like go volunteer at your kids' school and make sure they're cool. Go, make sure your neighbors, this is how I grew up, make sure your neighbors got food to eat. If y'all tight or if you see their kid outside. I'm from old school. When my mom was working and she said, don't move your ass off this stoop and then go in the house when the sun go down, you best believe the neighbors around us when we grew up on Swain Street, hey, your mama said y'all supposed to be in the house. What you doing out here on the porch?
Man.
Or on the steps or whatever. There is something about accountability and sacrifice, and most of us won't sacrifice for shit. We'll sacrifice and buy our kid the latest goddamn iPhone, but you don't sacrifice and get them tutoring lessons, or you don't sacrifice and teach them how to speak and say please and hi and thank you to people. We don't do mannerisms. I'm not gonna front Barry. Sometimes I feel like we have raised a whole bunch of disrespectful ass SpongeBob damn adults and children because and the Bart Simpson kind of kids and shit, where everything is a damn joke and everything is funny, and it's like, no, it ain't funny, because as soon as your ass get in trouble, you want me to go down and march on your behalf.
Yeah, you're right.
That's your motherfucking mind. Why would I be marching for your rude ass?
And you know the funny part about it, it becomes
Good
like
morning,
a thing.
Patrick.
Like it becomes even a thing to where you do this stuff, like you're honoring a bunch of thieves that never really did anything in the community, but continue to perpetuate the ignorance in our community. But then they become celebrated, and then they become exonerated because of their death, right?
Shut your mouth.
That's crazy. I mean, that's real talk. They become exonerated because of their death, and I don't think that we realize how. Like, so wait a minute. I'm going to be more honored in death by the hands of the oppressor.
You have to remind, we value when the black person been killed. We value that.
But I'm living.
Won't do shit for you in life, but we value your ass in death. Man, you said a whole mouthful.
I'm
you
just
ain't
being
lying.
honest though, you know. And I think that what relatively we fall into, because what Tyler Perry, it's kind of ironic. Tyler Perry does this magnificent thing, and I'm gonna go outside knowing that there is some flaws with Perry, but understanding, as I've known and understood with some of the brothers and sisters that I rock with over here, and I was like one brother that, you know, we've had our ups and downs, but I always used to say to some youngins that would try to get at him, I said, one thing I could say, the brother is always making sure black youth are being hired. And that's, if there's any more I could give them, they can be full of shit about a lot of things, but that speaks volumes, because that identity of empowerment by itself, even these niggas will be Uncle Tom, or not Uncle Tom, excuse my, not Uncle Tom's, but coonish on certain levels.
Right on.
I do respect that. So regardless of what we could disagree to agree with Tyler Perry, what he's done is created an economic build that is going to be so tremendous, because out of that film studio, right, now I can produce my own shit. That's more black actors with jobs. That's more black producers with jobs. That's more black directors with jobs. There's more, you know, there's a catastrophic build in what he just did. So to hate that, it's to like, well, nigga, you really ain't about the build.
Well, some Negroes do hate other Negroes. That's why black on black crime exists. I'm sorry, that's my language.
Oh,
no,
shit.
some of us do hate other black people who look like us. I mean, we're going to do black on black business. You want to support black on black business. But we got to also this black on black crime. I mean, shit.
We is never going to agree with that shit.
And you don't have to agree. That's just my reality. That I know that's true, because I grew up watching black people kill each other up all up and down the United States. I mean, all up around the United States. So we know that it exists. So for me, when I say I understand I've lived in the black world, it means exactly that.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm not saying I'm going to do the good names with black, but not the negative stuff with black. All this shit, negative and positive, exist in the same motherfucking space and time.
Yep.
And sometimes at the same exact time.
Yeah.
The same way we can uplift one Negro because they speak proper English and put the other Negro down who don't speak proper English. We do shit like that as black people. We do. And then we wonder why can't we stand together? Because Negro, your ass is ignorant and you don't want to see other black people come up. You don't want to see black people exist in different spaces and times and languages and cultures and shit like that. We act like every black person is ignorant as fuck, or every black person went to college, or every black person is a Christian, or every, you know, like, God damn it, we're just as diverse as any other goddamn group.
And I think that we're afraid because I guess, again, here's a situation that we look at, right? We see a situation where, in one hand, we see Tyler Perry deliver a powerful message of black economics and do for self. But then, in the other hand, we see the brother Joshua Brown get murdered for kind of working within the system to kind of put this white girl into, you know, justice, as we would say, and he gets assassinated, right? And no one has done anything about it. But go on here, it's like, you know, the Sean King brother put $100,000 reward
for the
killing, and that's good. But what the fuck is that doing?
Barry, shit.
I mean, what is it doing?
Barry.
George Zimmerman, gangster Negroes, still alive, willing and able. And the person that shot that motherfucker was a white person. And he's doing like 20-some years for attempted murder. You get what I'm saying? So I just...
What?
Yes. That boy done got shot at. That boy there's been a few attempts on his life, but it ain't been black people.
See, even white people know what's...
And Dylan Roof is sitting in a prison near you, chilling. You know, I think one nigga done approached his ass and got on his ass. But this is a kind of
we want to have conversations with motherfuckers who oppress us.
This is
but
the kind
you don't
of,
have no conversation with your brother who you have a disagreement with.
Listen,
who you should have a conversation with.
Yeah.
You just kill his ass right out.
I'm just saying, I really just don't understand where we're at. And then just speaking in the volumes of why this is the first, right? I really don't. Because I'm looking at those kind of power circuits. That's why I still hold hope for Jay-Z. Even though I think that, Negro, you going to the NFL and talking about whatever bullshit, you saying that, we're past fucking kneeling. Colin Kaepernick, we going on week 6 and Colin Kaepernick still ain't got a job.
Well, shit, first of all, the answer to that is that Colin Kaepernick started his own fucking league. We got enough Negroes to fucking play beyond it. That's number one. Even though Master P has said, let's do that. Number two, maybe Jay-Z, leave that nigga alone. Let him be in his position and maybe go to that nigga in the back door like back in the day, like, nigga, I'm going to need you to fund this. See, we got to be some fucking strategists with this shit.
And we're not strategic. And so
that's all
my thing
saying.
is we hate what we hate. Good. But then in the other ends, we're not building. Right on. Nigga said, Barry, why the fuck are you going to do a thrift store? I said, why not? You know what I mean? Get what I'm talking about?
You always buying shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you niggas don't want to get it cheaper from me, come to me. Well, shit, I don't know what to tell you, but I opened up a thrift store. So a nigga can never sit there and say, well, Barry, what? I don't know, nigga. I opened up a thrift store. You want to get some cheaper shit? Come see us first. And a lot of our black people, salute to my business partner and all the black people that support. Need a lot more y'all to support, but at the end of the day, see, a nigga was quick to give you some of their shit to go ahead, but nigga ain't quick to come in to look around and see what they want to buy. They're gonna go over to Macy's or Ross, because Ross and Marshalls is just the same thing as a thrift store. It just, it just higher end. In a level, if you want to say that, it got more variety, right? But it's the same motherfucking thing, because shit, I just seen this motherfucker at Ross that was just in Macy's 2 days ago. And it smells like it's more. Exactly. Shit me. So it just becomes
crazy, Barry.
We just have to, as black people, and again, we're not making a mockery of the things that are going on. We're being light because we are tired of being tired, and I'm tired of having conversations with people that I know understand what I'm talking about. I need to have these conversations with people that don't understand that we're talking about. And that's the problem. We are okay with Black Panther being one of the biggest movies of all time. And who has the last say of that movie? A white studio. Now, if Tyler Perry is able to produce something close to the Black Panther, are we going to be able to support that?
Here's my thing. I would say yes, but again, Tyler Perry, and I like Tyler Perry, but he's only, it seems like today, I don't know, he could have changed his mind, but he's only interested in movies that he know black people will go see, like a Madea, like a, my man cheated on me, then he beat me up, now we back together, now we praising Jesus. He's only into those movies. So the Black Panther was about a comic book. I haven't seen any comic book films coming out of Tyler Perry's camp, because that's not his lane. And he'll tell you that's not his lane. But we know,
the nigga did try to do an action film.
Well, that was with him and Alex Cross. I didn't really see it, so I don't know. But let me just say this: I think it's the diversity of black people and African people, on the planet. Sometimes we don't think about a black superhero. We don't necessarily think like at one of my schools they have a club that's a superhero club. These young people get together once a week and they talk about all the fucking superhero movies. And I was like, damn. There's a few black kids that belong to that. So we don't think black kids can see themselves as a superhero. That's why I think Black Panther was so great.
No, it's awesome.
To a degree, because you get to see yourself as the hero with an all-black cast, not us being a fucking rainbow. Yeah. There are still pitch black people on the planet. There's whole countries with pitch black people. So I feel like that's not his lane. His lane is he's a Southerner. He wants to show the films where it's some trauma,
but now
and
that
mammy,
but now that
that's what he wants to do. That's
good. But now that he has a film studio.
Okay. Maybe
I don't have to be the one that's doing the damn film.
Okay.
You can be the one. That's what I'm saying. Because a film studio is like, okay, nigga, it's everything plus some. So I really want to see how the nigga is going to operate in a way to where is Spike Lee going to start doing movies over there?
Let's just get the fuck
I'm just saying.
Spike's day has coming on. That nigga got an Oscar now. He can go rest in peace.
I'm just saying.
We don't know. We don't know if he cultivated any people who came out of Spike Lee. Because one thing I think is a problem sometimes with black people in this arena. It's not all of them, but a lot of them don't have any offshoots. Like you look at Warner Brothers, you know how many people came up together? And, you know, in their world, you know, who make those films, they have so many proteges.
Yeah.
I look at, I love the 70s, so I watch a lot of stuff that came out of the 70s and early 80s. So like Canal, you know, or Martin, God damn, not Martin, because Swayze is another person. But all of these people open up the doors for so many other young directors and now filmmakers themselves. I don't always see that with black people.
Not at all.
We know Spike Lee was around. Tell me how many people came out of Spike Lee's camp, even though I heard some horror stories of how he treated black people like shit because he was the only game in town at the moment. And now some of them people ain't fucking with him. Like I know Denzel has opened the door for a whole bunch of people and helped people out a lot.
Yeah.
I never heard that much about Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Here's a man who basically could have been like the Godfather or at least whatever, a black film, but I heard horror stories.
He should have been the one to open up his first studio.
Well, you know, he ain't really trying to do that. Oh, but you know what I'm saying? It's that's all I'm saying. Like, I mean, and I'm not, my thing, and I'm not, I respect Tyler Perry and what he's done. So that to me is just great. You're absolutely true. But I know maybe he will change and do other films. Maybe he will see the diversity in black people. But sometimes if you're in a lane and they support you, you don't go all the way over to the fucking left lane. Because those niggas may not even recognize you and be like, nigga, what you talking about?
Well,
maybe he will stay doing, you know, Medea, Mammy, the Tragic Mulatto. Maybe he'll still doing,
well,
you know.
the funny thing about it is, I believe Medea is retired. The Medea thing is retired, which is crazy.
For now. You know how many times niggas come out of retirement buried?
But at the same time, what he's done is opened up.
I want to see the Michael Jordan story. That's what I want to see the Michael Jordan. I want to understand Michael Jordan.
I want to see things like that. I want to see like the Oprah biography, like in a real in-depth way.
Yeah.
I want to see what's going on, like with Joshua Brown. I want him to take on some of these more hard-aligned issues relatively. With some fiction, because I think we need some fiction to kind of balance us out a little bit.
I agree.
To kind of be like, all right, well, that could be a beat.
I like to see a Black History Channel. Shit,
you know?
All we learn about is Black History all motherfucking day.
I believe that these things can happen. Black news 24 hours.
Don't start.
You know,
I'm
this
so
thing
down
can
with
happen.
That. You know, I'm so
this
down
can
with
happen,
that.
because I
you
feel
so
like in order for us to get the true unedited, uncut versions,
right on,
we would have already found the killer of Joshua Brown. And I think that because we limit ourselves, because we'll be okay with Van Jones going up on CNN, we'll be okay with Al Sharpton going and having this CNBC TV show. We'll be okay with all these different things, but we're not really okay with us having our own station. And that, to me,
you
is
know what I like to see
struggle.
will be revolutionary? I want to see the street news. I want to hear.
We got that already? Don't we put it on Facebook?
No.
Snapchat?
No. I'm talking about the real street shit. It could be like 10 minutes long, but it'd be like you just give straight orders. It'd be quick as fuck. Can't be long because street people don't do long shit. But if you had like, oh, this is the shit we are. You know, remember the Warriors? Y'all know if you remember the Warriors. Oh, look, I love what he said. This is the code word. They would throw out those messages. We may not know, but niggas in the street, they understood they was looking for somebody. Don't let them make it out of here. I was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Then I would be like Senior Love Daddy. Where the fuck he go? You know, from Do the Right Thing. We talking about hold the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, that's a double truth.
I think that in a reality,
right on, Cam.
What it all comes down to, yes, us speaking these things into existence. Because I don't think that we would ever been in a place where we had such tragic news with the Joshua Brown situation and all of the love fest.
And that's just the one we know because it's a big case. How many other people think got shot like that?
That's what I'm saying. And that's think about that.
That's real talk.
This is just publicized.
Yeah.
How many other niggas who tried and attempted have been ostracized? Like I say, so with the tragic news, to have something that kind of bounces us back, we usually don't have that. So that's why we're really lifting up what Tyler Perry did. But I definitely don't want to step away from the understanding that, you know, folks, we got to really look at this deeper and to how we constantly allow ourselves to not be protected. Our women are not protected. Our mothers are not protected. Our community's not protected. And when we enslave ourselves with this idea, this thought, that there's going to be something higher than ourselves, because we are God. God is within us to protect us and to save us from our own I think that sometimes some of our own shit that we created, because I don't know if we are the mother and fathers of humanity, how do we let our kids run amok? And these motherfuckers is our children. And this is our reality.
Shut your mouth, because now you talk about responsibility.
saying,
you know black folks don't do responsibility.
And so I think that it comes into this weird idea that a lot of times that I see in our community, where it's now the kids being more of the parent. And it's like funny, I had dinner with my daughter last night, right? And she her volume was a little bit too much, and I said to her, hey, stepping out of bounds a little bit. And she's all, Dad, when is it gonna ever end? I mean, when I'm 30 years old, I said, as long as I'm your father breathing, I'm always gonna have authority over you like that. You get what I'm talking about?
Barry, let me ask you this though. But do you think some of that has to do with the way you chose to live your life in front of your daughter?
Oh, for sure.
Because parents who do that shit, the kids have seen you smoke crack, they've seen you do all kind of
We just talked about it
shit
last week, and I said to my daughter, like the principles that I put weren't principles my principles I put were principles of reflection. Understand what that means. Principles were just not written down on a wall. The principles were reflected that were written down on a wall. So my daughter can't tell you, oh yeah, I remember when my dad used to drink Hennessy all the time and used to come home hella wasted, and little Shelly Owens was in and out the crib, you know what I'm saying, picking me up, dropping me off. I remember when he was arguing with his little Shelly Owen, and then the other one came knocking on the door, and I remember when these Negroes came and pulled up on us, and I remember when I jumped in the car, Dad had hella weed, and that's, you know what I'm saying?
Barry.
Like, I'm just being honest though. Like, my daughter remembers those days I showed up at the conferences, and not only did those, she remembered those days I showed up, picked her up, we're going out of town. Let's be honest, family. The reflection of our youth is a reflection of thyself.
Yes, right on, Barry.
And a lot of us got to look in that mirror. How you looking? Might not be looking that pretty. And for those who say, well, I've done it all, and they still went bad, it happens. But if foundation is laid, and we talked about that last Tuesday, if foundation is laid, they will always come back to the trail with good foundation. I don't know too many good kids that when they turn into their bad, persona for that little bit of time, that the foundation was solid cement, steel, that they come and don't come back and they're right. I just don't know too many of them like that.
Me too. Right on.
So I think that we have to continue to be the example. So going back into the fact that we are we want to take that we are the creators of civilization, and then we don't want to look at the offspring that we created.
That's real talk, Barry.
And we got a disruptive fucking young person that's sitting there. Basically, I say we're in a domestic violence relationship because we've decided to make the people, the pale face folks, our parents when we their parents. We got to sit there and start taking out the belt. And we don't do that. We got to put them on their knees. Because I think the narrative has become too much that they're the ones that created it all when they did it.
That's right talk. That's real talk.
And when we start talking like that, that's when we're expecting our parent. No, we're the parent. We're here to save ourselves. We are here to be able to put shit in order. And when we continue to ask the child to put shit in order, of course you see what the child is doing right now. This is a dysfunctional child that is totally off the hook, that has been entitled, that has been given grace. And the one thing about this child that always enforces the negativity, the child has never, ever been able to be like the bigger brother, the bigger sister. And they've just went rogue. You know what I'm talking about? You know, like that sibling rivalry that happens, right? You know what I'm saying? Because if we are the creators of civilizations, all babies came in so many different shapes, colors, and bounties, and that dark baby is that baby like, hey, I wasn't the handsomest, or I wasn't the most athletic, I wasn't the smartest. You know what I'm talking about?
But that's the one we all came from. Ain't that a trip? The person who feel like they're the least is the bomb, is the formula.
So I feel like once we get back to formula and start reverting and stop acting as if they're the ones that created all this shit, I think that we start to move in a better situation and with more grace.
Right on. What's the rapper, Barry? We ready to close this out.
Let's close it down.
Man, this was great today. I enjoyed this conversation. I mean, I think we wrapped everything in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just continue to support, continue to build, and let's continue to support Black podcasts and We need y'all to support Black Podcast. Serve it, share it, tell a friend. Tune in every Tuesdays. 8:30. We say 8:30, but sometimes you know what.
8:30ish.
8:30. There you go. 8:30ish. We telling you niggas just to get prepared.
Right.
Don't talk.
That's a blackism.
Yeah, it's a blackism. Don't talk to us about y'all niggas ain't on time. Shit. Your check ain't on time. So that's what it is. Like I said, continue to support all revenues leading to Black. Continue to love and support your family, your sisters, your brothers. Queen Khadijah said the coldest part, and I do agree with her, is like niggas don't even greet each other. And it's like that becomes a part of the superficial shit we got to stop doing. Right. If we can't just greet each other, bless, not even say, I just don't even.
You always say, hey, how you doing?
I'm just like
alive,
this.
Be alive.
If I don't like you,
yeah,
you already know what it is.
Yeah.
But if I don't fuck with you like that, or we got some issues, you already know I'm not finna do all that.
I cannot like you, but I like your green, so I'm gonna speak to your ass. That's,
I don't want you. Some of these motherfuckers, I don't want to.
No, I mean they come in and say, hey, how you doing? It ain't gonna kill you, cause we do that to the enemy that we see every motherfucking day. We be like, this motherfuckers whoop my ass. I'm like, that's the domestic violence shit. Hey, how you doing, baby? But I'm saying to myself, common courtesy is the one thing that Black people survived on in these Americas. Not trying to be funny. We survived on being able to say please and thank you only because we knew we had another plan.
Man.
And you can't be having your feelings like, I don't like this nigga. You don't treat the cops like that. You don't treat people who hate your guts like that. So why the fuck you gonna treat other Black people like that? Just say hi to ass. How you doing? Welcome to my store.
Yes.
How you doing, sis? Peace. Hey, you know, I can have people I don't like, but I'll still speak to you. Hey, how you doing? But I may keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Cause
I'm gonna give you the deuces, and for some of you motherfuckers, I ain't speaking. So next Tuesday, family, and y'all know what it is. Black Blueprints with a Z.com, Earth Mama Healing Network.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all tune in for all of the greatness that's here. Hopefully, you know, Tyler, call us up, talk about, you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Tyler Berry, come holler at the real niggas if you want to get some shit done. Stop fucking around with these old bourgeois niggas.
I say keep doing them too, but make some room for the diversity of Blackness, not just the one monolith.
Indeed.
All right, family, peace.